edition. And today, I am so pleased to have back with me in the studio Kiva Slade. Kiva is the CEO and founder of the 516 Collaborative, a business strategist and consultant to coaches and entrepreneurs. Her career path was not such a straight line that she went from being employed to the government sector and state and federal government level, and now she's an online business manager that is focusing on business strategy and consulting, right? Which is exactly what I need right now, right? Because we have all of this, there's just so many changes happening in 2021, and it's a very exciting time. And I'm just really excited to have Kiva back on. Kiva, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks so much for having me. This is exciting.
Thank you so much for joining me. Can you please take a few moments to just sort of reiterate what it is that you do, who do you serve, and what makes you amazing?
Sure thing. So yes, I am an online business manager and actually up-leveling myself to a director of operations to really position myself to better serve higher 6 and 7 figure businesses. And so what I do basically is really serve as that right hand to the CEO. So many CEOs like yourself are visionaries, and that hanging out in the back end or dealing with the management of the team and the projects and the operations of what they have created is not always the place that is the best use of their time. So that's where I come in to help them with that, partner with them on just strategy. How are we moving that business forward to accomplish those goals? And it's absolutely fabulous. I love working with the entrepreneurs that I get to work with and the teams that I get to help on, and just really taking care of so many of the back end things that really free up the mind as well as the time and just that kind of breathable space that a lot of people need when they're running their own business. So I am totally good with kind of being on the backside while everyone else gets to be on the front side. So that's really exciting. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the kind of broad way of defining it right now.
I want to dive in a little bit more into this. Is that there are a number of terms, names, titles that that people like you who support businesses go by. There's virtual assistants, there's executive assistants, there's online business managers. Can you please take a moment to sort of break those down and where the split happens between what you do versus what others do in their spaces?
Oh gosh, yes, definitely. I love talking about that breakdown. So let's kind of start at that overall picture is like you have implementers or those that are the doers, and then you have more of the managing, directing ones. Okay. So when we're looking at the implementers or the doers, that's your virtual assistants, your executive assistants, your tech VAs, marketing, social media marketing VAs. Okay, then when you start talking about those that are more of the managers, the doers, so they're directors, you're looking at your online business managers, your integrators, your director of operations, fractional COOs, and all of that is really that senior and really more than mid-level management of people and projects and operations. So really looking at all of those bits and pieces, knowing that full picture and the scope of what everyone is doing, what they're responsible for, how to make that bus get to its next stop on time and with everyone still intact when they arrive there. So really taking care of making sure that those that are the doers are taking care of the doing. So that's a quick way to define it.
So I've worked with a few OBMs in the past, and I can tell you from my experience that it really has been life-changing. So really, because what happens is that as a business owner, you're not so much stuck, but you're just thinking like, okay, I have this huge to-do list, I have this list of things to get through. Who am I going to get it done? Right. I mean, I think that's the default way that that entrepreneurs are programmed to think, right? The ones that actually take the time to take a step back and wait a second, I need someone a little bit stronger in this field, right? Because one of the things I tell people about that, is that entrepreneurship in and of itself is, it's kind of lonely. A lot of the things that we do, the stresses that we're under in order to make our businesses happen. We can't really talk about it with a lot of people. It's like you
Yeah.
try to talk about
A
it to
lot
your
of people
parents,
don't
and
understand.
they just don't know, right? And even with your
Mm-mm.
spouse, right? Nothing against our spouses, we love them dearly, but just sometimes you just it just doesn't flow.
Right.
And if you say the wrong thing, let's say you have a spouse that doesn't quite understand, and then
Yeah,
you're like, oh shoot, I'm in a cash crunch this month. I mean, that could just cascade into all kinds of other stuff. Believe me, been there, done that, right?
definitely.
I'm glad I'm out of that one, right?
Amen.
But but what happens is that, especially now that most of us are working from home, we're all trying to we're all trying to make things happen. How are we supposed to network? How are we supposed to get out there and meet new people? We're not going to conferences right now. We're not chatting up the people that we sit next to on airplanes, trains, or buses, right? I mean,
Right.
obviously, because we're just not doing it. So what's next? So what's the next thing? We need someone that we can trust, right hand man, right hand woman, to basically make it happen, right?
Hmm.
And so then when you engage with an OBM, it's like, okay, this is what this is the kind of person that I need. She's not going to come in and just railroad everything, gets what
Hmm.
it is trying to do, and makes it happen.
I most definitely.
My question to you is this: when you when you're looking to join someone's team, right? What are
Hmm.
the things that you're looking for in order to make it a good fit for you, so that you can also set yourself up for success, right? I mean, I know it's not about you, right? It's about serving the clients that you've been called to serve, right? But at the same time, you need to pre-qualify them, right? You're not just going to take any Joe who's going to throw a couple grand at you per month, right? You really want to make this
No.
happen,
Yeah,
right?
for me, it's really a partnership and understanding that level of collaboration that's necessary. For me, it's really important that those that I partner with understand that that's the level I'm coming in at. So therefore, there's no confusion between, because in the online space, as we've already spoken about, there is confusion as to what someone does, or, oh, an OBM is a higher level VA. No, that's not the case. So really understanding that I'm coming in at that strategy, that partner level, where we're talking, just like you said, one to one on what the business is doing, where the business is going, and really understanding that I'm there, really, I'm serving the client, but I'm also there to serve the business and make sure that it's guided in the right direction, that it's protected in the things that it does, and how it moves forward strongly in a way that is still aligned with the vision of the CEO. So for me,
So
having that, go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask, where do you draw the line between the strategy that you're putting together and the implementation that you're passing off to others, so that they can maybe do that faster and better than even you can, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah,
there are a lot of skills
there's a
I'm
lot of
good
them.
at, right? I mean, I read and write English pretty well, at a pretty high level, but God, cut my veins today if you want me to write a blog post, right? It's like I just it's not something that I enjoy. I enjoy much more handing it off to somebody else. How do you figure out that division of responsibilities within someone else's organization to help make it more efficient?
Yeah, and that's a huge part of it also, is making sure there's a team in place. Like, you cannot manage what doesn't exist. So an OBM that's on a team with one, just the CEO, is not an OBM, because there's no one there to manage. There's no one there to do the implementation but the OBM. So for me, making sure there's a team in place, and when I look at those tasks and responsibilities, and we're looking at the strategy, for example, today, I had a meeting with one of my teams, and we're looking at rolling out the social and email media campaign that we have for an upcoming launch. Okay, so I provided some bare bones framework that was filled in with the person who's in charge of marketing, which then when we came together, my framework, her ideas, is what we kind of went to the team with, and the CEO put in what she felt. Okay, another team member added. So it's really sometimes a collaborative effort, but for me, a huge line of drawing, kind of line in the sand, I guess you could say, is when it becomes like that doing, I know that my time is best spent making sure that things are done on time by the right person, Okay, and they're done on budget, because that's really important, and numbers and KPIs and metrics is something that's often overlooked in a lot of online businesses. And so making sure that I'm focusing on those areas. So I have to check in with another team that we have a campaign going on right now, and just making sure, okay, I've read over the copy, okay, that was written by someone else, and then it comes to me for me to just kind of give it a go over and see, okay, is there anything else? Is anything not on brand? That's something I'm going to pick up on. Is there some other direction I need to give them? Hashtag strategy. Here's some things I want you to think about. But I'm giving you to think about those because I want you to have ownership in that task. And a lot of times when we have those remote teams and virtual environments, we do need to do a better job of encouraging ownership of our team members to take on those things. So I will take it to review, give some thought, give it back to you, because that's what I want you to run with. Okay. And that's super important, because when that buy-in is there, teams function so much more healthier when that is there, instead of feeling like, hey, have you done this? Have you done this? And like just blowing up the Slack channel on 50 different things where people are like, I can't get anything done because you keep sending me Slack messages. So,
Yeah, right.
finding that balance where
Right.
it's like, I'm letting you, my dad would always say, I give you enough leash to kind of hang yourself. So I let you kind of run with it. But if I need to give some input along the way, then I'm definitely doing that. So there's a healthy balance of ownership, but also that necessary oversight that things are getting done and done well.
Amazing. That's an amazing explanation. But let me ask you something. When you're starting out with a new with a new client, with a new entrepreneur, I would imagine there's a fair amount of training that you need to go through, like the mindset that you need to get him or her into in order to interface well with you, right? Like how does
Yeah,
that work? How does that
I
dynamic set up?
really,
Is that just
yeah. I really go in and I let people know that it's literally like we're looking at 90 days. It's like a 90-day date. We are seeing if in that 90 days, that 3 months of getting to know each other, kind of find our rhythm. Are we good? Do we want to take this relationship to the next level? Okay, is really what it
Mhm.
comes down to. With that first 30 days, really being a lot of fully immersing myself in the business, BCC'd on every single email, whether it's related to something or not. So that way I'm getting a better understanding of what takes place in the business. So, because if you don't have that lay of the land, you really can't make really good decisions. So really spending that first 30 months immersed in all aspects. What are the programs? If there's coaching programs, going through those, I need to understand what is the deliverable, what have been some of the outcomes, where's the testimonials, where's the feedback that we've received. Okay, looking at all of those bits and pieces. And then at the same time, still getting to know the team, getting to know the CEO. So really though, taking that first 30 days, we do try, in most of my teams, I do set up some kind of like our roadmap where it's like, okay, this 30 days, I'm all up in the business. I'm like, I'm uncovering every nook and cranny that there is. Like you name it, I'm in everything. Okay. And then that next month saying, okay, look, this is some of the things I've seen. This is what you've expressed as issues. Let's come together. These are the things that are going to be the top 3 things that we're going to work on. Okay. And this is how we're going to work on them. And here's the timeline for that. All right. And then that's what that next month is, really looking at some of that as well. And a lot of businesses, so much time is also spent in just really trying to internally start to put together processes in order to make things actually flow better, because things have been getting done, but it's not existing anywhere in terms of like any sort of documentation of an SOP or something that even resembles that. Loom videos, for example, just of how to get things done. And I think a lot of times we don't want to be replaceable, but in order for our business to really get to the stages that a lot of businesses would like to grow, we do need to make sure that things are repeatable, and the things that are repeatable can be done quickly by having a process in place. So yeah,
you
it's
know
a
pr-
90-day date.
processes, SOPs, that's something that a friend of ours, Sarah Noked, talked about.
Mhm.
She really knocked that into my head, right? And now I'm all about it, right? Because
Yes,
it's basically what it is that you're drawing up a recipe, step one, step two, step three, step four
that's right.
for for creating this stuff. And you'd be surprised that once you're able to conceptualize, like the process, like sometimes we don't even see it. Like,
Yes,
Jeff, you find yourself doing this, twice a week anyways. Why don't you hand that off?
yes.
So it could either be, well, I'm the superhero, right? I don't want,
And
I
you
don't
put
want,
your cape on.
yeah, put my cape on, right? Or it's like, yeah, this stuff bores me, and it really needs to get done. But it
Yes,
also, the realization that someone else will be happy to do it for you because you're
yes,
paying them, right?
that's right.
And I've just really been amazed. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of people, from around the world, right? At
Hmm.
many different price points, many different skill sets, many different cultures, just all over. And what happens is that there are, people are just as driven, working out of, Eastern Europe, working out of
That's
someplace
right.
in rural Argentina, or, wherever you find them, right? A lot of these people are motivated, right? They do want to get it done. It's just, you have to find someone that you gel with. You have to find someone that that you have chemistry. I tell
Yeah,
people all the time, in order for us to work together, we need chemistry, right? And if the
we
chemistry
do.
isn't there, then it's not going to work out. And it's
It's
no
really
different than
hard
having
to make it work when it doesn't have that chemistry, especially because we're not in close proximity to each other, you
Mhm,
know? So, being that we have to do this virtually, yeah, you need a level of comfort that comes
mhm.
with that chemistry that is like, okay, I don't see Sally at all. We might have a Zoom call. We have these Slack messages or something like that, click up chats or whatever, but I still know based on what I'm getting back from Sally, what I'm giving to her, that there's a connection there. She gets where I'm going with my business and she's there to support me. And that is so crucial right now because of these remote teams, and really even including that in team morale and doing things that you may not think to do, but you should probably think to do with your teams because of the fact that the pandemic seems to continue to go on and we're not in close
It's not going anywhere,
proximity to
yeah.
each other. It's not going anywhere. So we can't have the meetup that we thought we might have. So really building that into team culture is so important. And just making sure that even different people on the team feel connected. Like one of the things we do is a weekly standout report in Slack. We use Dixie app, which just you put the questions in and every Friday it automatically delivers them. And everybody reports out. And it's not micromanaging, it's just really so that Sally, who's in Scotland, knows what Jane has done, who's in Australia, who's aware of what Pat has done, who's in the Philippines, and you've done when you're in Florida. So it just gives everybody that full understanding of, oh, wow, this is what's been going on in your silo, area of the business this week. This is what's been going on in mine. And it works so well that everybody's like, oh, this is so cool. Like we have a wins channel where the only thing you can post in there's wins, and it doesn't even have to be work related. But building those things in nowadays are so important to just making sure that the team you have, you feel supported by, and they feel supported by each other and by you.
That's so poignant that you say that. One of the things that I based my business off of back when we could do this, right, is that I traveled a lot, right? I'm like, first of all, if my business is based on a laptop, why do I need to be here, right? As beautiful as
Right.
Miami is, there are some pretty cool other places to be, right? And I made it a point to go and visit as best as I could the people that work for me, no matter where they are in the world, and that took me to some really great places, right?
Awesome.
I had a pay per click guy in Montevideo, Uruguay. I had a team in I still have them actually in in Santa Fe, Argentina. I've had virtual assistants in Israel, and going to meet these people, right? Because it's one thing when they're this, little square on a thing, you could, yeah, because you're about 2.5 inches on this little monitor I have right now. So,
Right.
but once I take you out for coffee, right?
Yes.
Once I take you out for for a good lunch and really get to know, who I am and how I operate, and just a little bit, more of the mannerisms that I bring to the table. And I'm looking at the same thing, for you, right?
Yeah.
And it is so important that, that connection. And what that has done for me by fostering that communication, that chemistry that I have with the people that work with me, is that they stay with me for years.
Yes.
Right.
And
And
that's what you want.
that is exactly what I want, because training is hella expensive, right? It
Yes.
is so, it's really tough to, a lot of people do interview well, right? A lot of people do. And then when they actually start getting to work,
Yeah.
then, right?
You're like, what in the world have we done? We thought we did all of the things right. And now you're like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work.
I used to be a really good, I used to be a really good, hiring manager, right? Until
Mhm.
I had like a 2 or 3 losing streak with hiring VAs, until finally my OBM was just like, all right, Jeff, you're not allowed to hire people anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And, she was just a hard ass. She would just be like, she would interview them. I thought they were great, but then she's like, nope, not gonna work, not going to gel with your
Yep.
personality. And,
Yep.
you got to trust, the
Yeah.
process. You got to make sure that it happens. So that's
Yeah.
basically where it's
That's
at.
super important.
Well, Kiva, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank
It's
you.
always a pleasure speaking with you. Can you please let everyone know how they can find you online, how they can, how they can reach out and contact you directly, and just where you hang out, so they can learn more about you.
Yeah, definitely. I have always enjoyed speaking with you. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Mhm.
And you can definitely find me at my website, which is the 516collaborative.com. The best second place to find me is on LinkedIn. And I am on there as Kiva Slade. And I love to hang out there on LinkedIn and check for me in your stories on the LinkedIn app. And third place, I have been hanging out on Clubhouse, Jeff. Have you been on Clubhouse yet?
You know, let's talk about Clubhouse for a minute. So yeah, I get all the notifications, right? And all my friends are
Uh-huh.
on there. And the digital marketing world, we're just conquering that. We're just conquering that app, right? So it's cool. And actually, I'm actually very impressed on just how elegant it is in the functionality that it does not have. There's no
Yes.
recording. There's no messaging. It's basically you tune into a radio show where people are talking, and you have the opportunity, to raise your hand and actually speak, and, put some stuff. So I've read some stories, like Grant Cardone.
Yes.
He's all over Clubhouse now. And he's like, oh yeah, I put together, $1 million deals, just by speaking to somebody, for 10 minutes because he pitched me on Clubhouse. Great. Right. The only thing I'm thinking is that, just like podcasts and all this other media that I need to consume in order for me to stay current, right? It's like,
Mhm.
thanks. Now I have another channel to,
I know.
to jump in, right?
It does feel like that.
To close this out, what has been your experience on Clubhouse? I'm curious, because
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out whether it's worth my time or not.
yeah, it's been interesting. I actually love the LinkedIn kind of rooms. They have been really great and helpful with some good feedback. For me, it's not always the rooms that I think my biggest discovery is like I've been doing a lot of genealogical research, and I stumbled across like a club that focuses on that. And via the app, I was logged into my ancestry account, and the guy like literally walked me through functionality in there that I didn't know and helped me see things that he was like, okay, click here. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that to me has been just some of the nuggets that I've like taken away, is just sitting in there and seeing the things that people have done and connecting with other people to kind of get through my own personal research. And just business wise, the LinkedIn rooms have been great, but also the connecting with people. I figured a girl named Judy Fox showed a way that you can actually use LinkedIn to connect with Clubhouse. And it was really fascinating. So what I did was I hosted a room on Clubhouse, but I made it an event on LinkedIn. And so we were in the Clubhouse room listening to each other, but through the event chat on LinkedIn, we were actually typing with each other, sending gifts and emojis and sharing links. And that right there to me gave it a whole nother
It's
dimension,
huge.
because some people may not want to get on stage, right? but that same person was in the, like, you can't clap your, tap your microphone and clap if you're not on stage, but that person could show clapping emojis in the LinkedIn chat. And if there was a link or something that someone wanted to share, I don't need you to go into my DMs on Instagram. We could do it right here in this chat. And the cool thing about it was that the chat right now is capped at 50 people on LinkedIn. But what wound up being able to take place was the chat continues until you actually exit it. So people were like still talking 3 days after the event saying, oh, this was super cool. So it allowed people then to connect with one another on LinkedIn. And so to me, that's been one of the great joys of Clubhouse, is like actual connections that really do feel more authentic. And in light of what, like we've already shared, we're not able to travel and talk up everyone on the plane or the train or wherever we are. We could have those connections there that felt like after dinner conversations, or after an event where everybody was in the hotel lobby and we're still talking about everything because we're still juiced up from what we had just experienced. So that to me has been a really good part of it. I will say my usage did drop off come January 4th. When, like, the world, we like resumed our after break. But I've definitely found some conversations that have been really helpful, and I've enjoyed it, but it's much more sparingly now, my usage of it, than it was during the holiday break.
I think the other, I think the last part on this, first of all, that tip about, creating the, the chat on LinkedIn is just total bomb. That is, I think everyone should do that as just like part of your process. But,
Yeah.
I think the impromptu-ness of it is part of what, it's like everyone wants to talk like, hey, join me on my Clubhouse at 2:30 in the afternoon. It's like, no, like I'm working,
Right.
and it's like, like you said, you were able to do it over the break, but during the week, I don't know. That's just my personal prejudice, but if it works and it brings you business and brings you visibility, then hey, you definitely need to jump on it. So,
yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, cool stuff. Kiva, thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah,
Make it a
thank you
great
so
day.
much, Steph. You too. Bye, everyone.